You're the ones always that everybody else is worried about. We bought a couple of companies in the last week,
right.
And it's because we were opportunists, and we're the ones who can always deliver.
Wow.
Okay, it's just a culture of we are the best.
I'm so excited about this. We're here with the man, Tilman. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it, my friend.
I'm so excited. Your new book is out. Shut Up and Listen. I've been going through it, and there's not many books that I like to read. I like to skim a lot of books, but I'm really diving into the stories of yours, so I really appreciate it. And there's every once in a while, there are people that I really want to learn from. And I've been excited about this interview because you've done something that very few people have ever done. You've built an empire, and it's amazing what you've created in the last 30 plus years of your business. And I love that you keep taking risks. We were just talking about this off camera about how you're hungry about this book project. This book project is probably making you the least amount of money.
Trust me,
any
I
project.
spend more money flying my G5
Right.
to do interviews than I'm ever going to make from the book.
Exactly. So this is making you the least amount of money, probably. Big impact, it's making you some money, but it's also, you're just like, I'm so hungry and I'm willing to sacrifice to stay competitive. And you were telling me that most people aren't willing to stay competitive for a long time. And that's what's really, I've seen and admired about you, is how you're able to buy, the Houston Rockets, how you're able to do these big projects and buy these things because you're so competitive consistently over decades, where most people go in for 3 to 5 years, something doesn't work out, and then they stop their competitive edge. So how do you keep that edge?
It's really interesting because I did an interview yesterday with somebody who's really popular right now, and they're very young, and yet they said they already have those valleys where they went into a funk, like they were burnt out.
Right, after like 2 years of working hard or something.
Yeah. And I just said, what's funny is I've never had a burnout ever. I've been going like this for a long time.
Decades.
35, 40 years.
Wow.
Even. I mean, I started going at it in my teens hard, and I never had that burnout. And I think that's kind of a state of mind that if you're going to get burnt out if you want to get burnt out. But I always was going like this, and so I just kind of felt like I'm so fortunate to have it going. Why should I ever let the momentum go the other way? Mm-hmm. And then, of course, one of my great sayings is there's positive people and negative people. And when you're with a negative person or you're with a positive person, one of two things is going to happen. The negative person is going to make the positive person negative, or you're going to take the negative person and make them positive. So I've always paid attention to who I've always been around also. And I never wanted to be around people that didn't want to achieve.
Right.
But I've never even come close to saying, I'm done, I'm burnt out, I'm not doing this anymore.
Right. How do you spot the people who are truly wanting to achieve and who have that positive energy? Because sometimes you could bring people on your team and they could have that in the beginning, but they could kind of lose that, or they could spin off a negative cycle. Are you very loyal to the people that you have in your companies? You give them multiple chances, or is it like, okay, enough is enough, cutthroat?
What a great question that is, because I even list a bunch of people at the front of this book who really helped make me become who I am. Because even though I'm the leader, I'm the bull, you are dependent on people when you build a company my size of 60,000 people.
That's it? And pretty small, right?
and I truly probably have 25 vice presidents that average 25 years.
Wow.
Okay, I tease my people about this all the time.
Wow.
I go, I never, ever in the last 35 years have probably lost direct answers to me, maybe 1 or 2 people. And so why are y'all losing them every year?
Right.
And so when people ask me what are you most proud of, and I think it's the people that truly deal with me on a day-to-day basis. Even my assistants, I have one for 27 years and I'm one for 26 years.
Wow.
That truly grew up with me, that were young girls, or not young girls.
Right.
And I think it is. If they'd tell you, they'd say that's the hardest son of a bitch to work for in the world. But I would not work for anybody else.
Wow.
I think that's what they would all tell you.
I mean, in a world where it seems like everyone wants to change jobs every year or two because they want something new and exciting, how do you cultivate that culture or environment where they're like still excited every year? Is it because you're acquiring new companies all the time?
I think that's part of it, is that they know that we're the bull, and that even in tough times, if I call them into my boardroom, it's not, hey, we're getting bought out. It's, who are we buying? Because we eat the weak in bad times. So, I think it's leadership, respect. It's knowing that that we're the bull out there in our industries. And
for those who don't know what you mean by the bull, who haven't read the book, what does that mean to be the bull?
Just, you're the ones always that everybody else is worried about. We bought a couple of companies in the last week.
Right.
And it's because we were opportunists, and we're the ones who can always deliver.
Wow.
And we're the ones who have the funding, the due diligence to do it quickly. We outwork people. A lawyer of mine who handles all the M&A, he was at the office from 9 a.m. Sunday a week ago till Monday night at 9 p.m., 36 straight hours getting a deal done. Okay, it's just a culture of we are the best. and not that there's not great companies out there, and we're just still in the whole world, a company.
Right.
But and what we do and doing mergers and acquisitions in the restaurant business or gaming business or whatever, aquariums, amusement parks. But we outworked everybody to get the Houston Rockets. I mean, my team during Hurricane Harvey, when everybody was flooding, was still at the office trying to get that contract signed because we wanted it done by Monday of Labor Day. And
during the big flood in Houston, is that
100%. And but the Houston Rockets went on the market on July 17th, and we signed the deal up on September the 5th. For the most money ever paid for a professional sports team.
Now,
so it's just saying we're going to get it done before anybody else can.
Now, why pay the most premium? Why not try to create the win-win, get the best deal for yourself? Why say I'm going to overpay? Maybe it's not an overpay in your mind, but why do that? And when everyone's telling you, maybe that's a little too much,
Because I listen. And I'm going to tell you what I heard. I heard from some very, very smart people, and this is one of the reasons that the book's titled "Shut Up and Listen" is because I do listen, and I had some really smart people who know a lot of people who went after sports franchises say they quit too soon. It's the biggest regret they ever had.
Meaning they sold the franchise?
No. They went after, say, the LA Clippers. They went after the Golden State Warriors. They went after and people that could afford to do it. And they just said, I'm not going to pay that extra $100 million or $200 million or whatever. And then they had to go buy a team in the years to come somewhere else, not in their hometown,
right. Or a minor league team
pay more,
or something,
whatever. And so I was told there's never been a team sell for less in sports, and it's just a mistake you don't make. And so I listened to people and said, you could regret this. And it's kind of funny, but I already knew I was not going to lose, okay? I was not going to lose this opportunity. And when other people, I even had the Tad Brown, who I've known for years, who runs the business side of the team even today, call me at one point and said, y'all aren't in the room kicking tires like some of the other people. Are you losing interest? I said, no, Ted, I haven't lost interest at all. I said, everybody else is in there trying to justify how do you pay $2 billion, because they made it really clear that they wouldn't sell it for under $2 billion.
Wow.
They're all trying to figure out how you pay that for it. I was out there making sure I could raise the money. And so
I like that.
And no, seriously, because
you weren't even thinking. You said, "I'm going."
Right. Yeah. I knew that the team on a bad year is going to make $40 million, and on a good year is going to make $90 million. Okay, I knew that. Okay, and I'd known Tad for 15 years. But if you start trying to say, okay, if it makes $40 million or it makes $80 million, do you pay $1.9 billion or $1.8 billion or $2.2 billion? It has nothing to do with it. Okay. Okay, and so while everybody else and was doing due diligence that way, even people that have a lot more money than me, okay, they're trying to get there, and they missed the box. Okay, they were looking at the wrong thing instead of realizing this is a 10-year play. And I can promise you one thing: I bought this team in 2016. Yep. In 2026, it'll be worth $3 billion.
Really?
Okay. Yes. Okay. It's already moved up in value. So it's just the feel and knowing what to do and not getting caught up in the due diligence that doesn't matter. And I think one of the reasons I've been successful is because nobody does due diligence on an acquisition more than my team does. But it's just don't get caught up in the things that don't matter. Like price of a few $100 million. and you know what's so funny? And then you know how I got their attention? Everybody else wrote letters. They said, okay, we want everybody's letter of intent today. Everybody had all kind of ins and all the potential buyers. Everybody had all kind of ins and outs and everything. And you know what I did? I said, I'm going to put up $100 million non-refundable.
I love that.
No financing contingency, no NBA approval contingency. And if something happens, I'll walk away and lose it. Okay, so that
with the previous owner.
Yeah, with the previous owner. Yeah.
Wow. No one else was willing to do that.
Nobody else will do that.
And you were willing
But that's the second time I've done that, and it worked for me, because in my great casino in Lake Charles, right outside of Houston, I did the same thing.
50 million, right? Or 40 million?
50 million, 50 million, yeah. So it's worked for me twice. I hope I have the opportunity to do it again. That is something I want that bad.
What is the things that people should be looking at? You mentioned people are looking at the wrong things. They're thinking about the price or the other things. What should they be thinking about if they want to acquire something? Whether you're a small business owner that wants to acquire something for $100,000, or you're a billionaire like yourself trying to acquire something for $2.2 billion, what is the thing they look for?
Well, if it's something that you really, really want and you can afford it and it doesn't really matter, you should just go get it. Okay.
Why? Is that for the peace of mind?
Just for the peace of mind, and so you never regret it. Okay. I can go back 20, 25 years ago, and I've been asked this the last few days. I had a chance to buy this unbelievable car collection about 25 years ago that had great muscle cars right when they were, it was unbelievable. Yeah. And I was really buying it at a bargain because the father had died, the son was selling it, didn't give a damn. Yeah. And I lost a deal over a couple $100,000 that today, if I owned that, I would just walk in there and say, this is mine. Yeah. I just love it. And I learned a lesson. And 25 years later, that's the one deal that comes back and haunts me because I negotiated a little bit too hard for something that really mattered. Now, now let's look at in a box of a real business deal. You can't get caught up emotionally. There's always another deal. And I walk away from deals all the time.
Really?
All the time. Because there's always another deal. But you know what? There's only so many great car collections. There's only one NBA team in your own hometown, okay? Right. And so there's certain things you don't worry about. Yeah. And that's where you have to be smart and say, there's always another casino to buy or another restaurant company to buy, but keep it right. Know what's in the box and know what's out of the box.
I'm glad you said that because I acquired something a couple years ago that I did this move without knowing I was doing a Tilman move. Greatness.com was available, and it was probably overpriced.
What was it?
Greatness.com.
Okay.
In my space, there's only one word for domain, and my word is greatness with the School of Greatness podcast. Sure. And I wanted to build something bigger than just this show. I wanted to build a media engine around this word that every athlete uses when I see them talking about it on social media and press conferences.
100%.
Brands talk about it in their slogans.
It's greatness.
Built for greatness, pursuit of greatness.
I love that.
I was just like, I want to own this word. I don't want anyone else to have the word. I want to own it. And there's only one domain in the world. It's like a franchise of one. And I was just like, I want that.
And were you able to get it?
I bought it, yeah.
I know, but I'm surprised you could get it trademarked because it's a word.
I don't have a trademark, just the domain.
Okay, just the domain. Yeah, so I can build a podcast or something.
For anything I want to build on it. For my media engine, for content, for all that stuff. My books, everything that I have, I can build around that word. But and I haven't used it yet. I just have it. It just redirects to my personal site because I want to build it the right way.
I love
but for
it, though.
me,
I love
it gives me
that.
peace of mind that no one else can build something and confuse my audience.
No, because it's such a strong word.
Strong.
And it's something that we all are after every day.
Right.
You know, the people who want to be.
Exactly.
Okay, and so I love that in you.
Yeah. So I got to learn how to continue to level up like you're doing now. I'm curious, who was the most influential person in your life growing up?
There wasn't. There
wasn't one?
No, there just. I would love to say there was, but there were a lot of people that were even family members that were entrepreneurs that had some success. I mean, not great success, but were still very successful. There were people in Houston. There were people that I just watched around the world, and you just said, God. But I never had that one person. But I saw little things that different people did, and I picked up
Lots
different
of mentors,
things. Yeah. And I kind of looked, and I liked the way this person handled themselves. I kind of liked the way this person handled themselves about this. I just never had that one person, and maybe I wish I did, but I just
turned
didn't.
out okay. Yeah.
No, it's okay.
What was the mistake or hard lesson you learned in your early years or in your teen years that really embarrassed you, that really made you feel ashamed or, not proud about yourself that you did that or you said that or you acted in a certain way or you really let someone down that has stuck with you all these years?
I have to say, I never had that big, hit over the head with where I had to sell a car, sell a house, or whatever because things weren't going well, and yet I've been through some tough times. But also, and I talk about this in the book, don't ever outlive where you are in your business life. And
what's that mean?
What that means is that there's so many people that get a little success in a business, and they go get a lifestyle that is bigger than the business, and then all of a sudden the business takes a dip a little bit. And they've got to keep up this lifestyle, so they're sucking more money out of the business than they should. I complain to my people all the time. I'm poor. I don't have any money because I always put everything back in the business, and I just try to take out a few crumbs to live on. Because I've always made the business first and not me first. But that's why I have a great business and I own 100% of it, so it really doesn't matter. But a lot of people start with a company and they become entrepreneurs. They get some success and they're buying more houses they can afford, or more cars, or art, or they look philanthropy. Oh, I want to be recognized for giving this away. And then all of a sudden their business dips and they can't do it anymore. And then their business fails because they took all the money out and they're not putting it back in because they're trying to keep their lifestyle. I always made my business number one. I never put myself ahead of my business. And that's one of the reasons I've gone like this.
Wow.
Never put anything ahead of it.
Wow. Was there an embarrassing time as like a teenager before you got into business where you did something you're like, man, I shouldn't have done that or said that, in your teen years? Or...
I've said so many things I shouldn't have said, but I don't have that one. I just don't have
no memories of that, yeah.
No, I just don't have, sure we all did stupid crap, but I just don't have that one.
Is there anything you did that you weren't proud of? Whether it be maybe it was a personal relationship or with family or you.
I just don't have it.
I
just don't have it.
I'm just curious if there's anything like that shaped you.
And maybe it's. I've always been a positive person, and I just.
Where did you gain that positivity from?
I don't know. I think you're born with it somewhat, and I always wanted to succeed. Do I wish I wouldn't have dropped out of college because I was making money because I only had like 32 hours to go? Yeah, but you know what? But now I'm the longest running chairman of the Board of Regents of that university, so it really doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, exactly.
So, but that bothered me for a long time that I never finished school. But then as you become more and more successful and you see all these other guys in the Forbes 400 too that never finished school because there's something in us that we just can't have those handcuffs on it. We're making money and I can't deal with going to class. I gotta make money. And when I was 21 years old, I was already making, a couple $100,000 a year. That's big money.
Big money back in what the 80s, 70s,
the early 80s.
Wow, that's big money.
Big money. And people don't realize that when you say I was making a couple $100,000, but that was big money.
Huge
big money. So
now I'm always curious about. I don't have kids. And you have 4 kids, right?
Yes.
I'm always curious to ask my very financially successful mentors who have kids, because I want to prepare myself for my future. And I'm always asking, how do you raise kids that aren't entitled when you essentially have everything available, when you could buy them a car, when you could buy them the nicest, trips or whatever it may be, when they do get to go on the jet? I'm not saying that they do or not with you, but how do you not train, but how do you educate and cultivate great kids? Because what I've heard about you and your kids is that they're very respectful. I don't know if all of them are, but I've
all
heard
4 of them. No. Every single parent will tell you.
They care deeply about people. They're courteous.
You would never know they grew up in the lifestyle they have, because they've grown up from the beginning.
So how did
they grew up flying on, because I had my first jet in 91, and I think the first one was born in 92. So
how did you teach them? How did you lead them?
I think their mother had a lot to do with it, because she's very balanced, and we just never acted like we were that special, and they always saw me work hard. I was special because we had nice things, but I never acted like I was special. They still saw me talk to everybody, dress the same, be nice to everybody. And they just picked it up, and at the same time, I mean, they've gotten on my ass because they went to the right schools and they lived in the right neighborhood, and so therefore they had lots of friends that were spoiled. They also looked at the people that were generational money, that you go back generations, and they didn't like what they saw in those kids and how their parents acted, and realized that they just weren't motivated people, and I've made them realize that you're not going to go to a club just because your friends do and can buy $5,000 bottles whenever you want. Okay, like a lot of their friends have credit cards, so that they've been on me many times and through their college years and saying, it's embarrassing to us because everybody knows we have more money than them, and we can't keep up with them.
Right.
And I said, well, that's good for you. They'll see how much we appreciate the dollar.
Wow.
And believe me, they're not hurting. Trust me. Okay?
They got nice lives.
But I didn't make it where you can just go spend whatever you want. I mean, it's always, hey, can I please go do this?
So they have to make a
right, because I let me tell you something. I still watch every dollar I spend. I still walk through a store, and if I'm going to buy a jacket, I want to look at it, and I think if the perceived value is too expensive, I don't buy it. Okay, and they've always seen me do that. Whether we were in Capri or Rome or Saint Tropez, they'll see me look at something. I say, that's ridiculous for that. We're just
you don't just say, give me the best of everything.
No, I mean, so they never saw their mother or me act like that, and so they looked, even though they've flown here on helicopters everywhere, they still see, but that was more for convenience. They see us watch how we spend money, and that's the smartest thing you can do.
How did you keep this attitude for yourself when I'm sure a lot of your friends who have accumulated wealth over the years, maybe you saw them start to change that grounded attitude? How did you keep that for yourself when so many people are pitching you, on your TV show, which is great? It's like everyone's coming to you for the answers. Everyone wants an opportunity from you. Everyone's got the deal. How do you stay grounded? And I'm sure you're,
It just happened over a period of time. It's not like I was a tech baby and I had an app and all of a sudden I wake up and I'm worth this. It's been like this for 35, 40 years, since I was 20 years old. And so I never had that issue. And so I didn't wake up one day and I was rich. I mean, even when I took my company public in '93, I was already worth a few $1 million. And so, even though you got a bunch of paper net worth, it just still wasn't.
So the paper net worth, I think, was $100 million at that time?
Yeah.
And then what changed for you mentally when you saw that kind of paper net worth? When you're like, okay, I was worth a few million or whatever it was then, but now I'm on paper worth.
Well, I mean, once again, I was smart enough to realize that paper net worth could go away. I watched many companies have IPOs and then 3 years later, tank. And so I didn't, I know there's a paddle for everybody's ass. And I talk about it in the book. And I think that's probably, what I could give everybody out there who's ever made a few dollars. you better watch for. Even today, you know, and I came out yesterday, was number 140 on the Forbes list, 4.9 billion. I still get up every day and worry if that paddle is going to get my ass.
Wow.
Okay, and the day you stop worrying and you just spin freely, the paddle's going to get you, because you don't know what's going to happen. Is our government going to change to a socialist government? Is all of a sudden somebody going to come out and the millennials say we're never going to eat meat again?
Right.
You know, you just don't know. But we've seen some crazy things happen in our world and during my lifetime, and in your lifetime already.
Yeah.
So remember, I mean, I'm the one who grew up and you had one telephone in the house, and if you wanted to talk to your friends, you went to that telephone, and it was just a different world. It was just a different world.
You talk about, I've never borrowed money or raised money, but you talk about the importance of getting cash when you are already making a lot of money. Why should someone like myself or a business owner get a line of credit, get cash out, even if they're already thriving and doing well and they've got cash in the bank? What's the importance of that?
Well, everybody does different things, and you got to do with what you're comfortable with. And I've always been comfortable with borrowing money, but that's also my success, because the way you look at unless you're a tech baby again, the world was created because of leverage finance, okay? Right. There's the reason that you had, you know, all the tech companies and the media companies and the great big casinos in Vegas, the things that cost billions of dollars.
You had to raise a lot of money.
You did it with leverage finance, with my good friend in California, Michael Milken, really came up with. But that's why there was such an explosiveness in the 80s, because of leverage finance. I've always been scared of debt, but I haven't been scared of debt. I never had a problem with using it, but I talk in my book this is the problem that we all do, is say you have a small business and you want to go out and borrow some money, and you do a pro forma for the bank, a budget, you know, to keep it simple for people. People always give a budget that is the best case scenario, and they start to drink their own Kool-Aid and think that's what they're going to do. Well, one of the things that
projections, I'm like, here's where we're going to be in 3 years and 5 years.
Yeah, or even next year. And what I've always done is I've done that for the bank. But even today, in a deal that I bought last week, I want a worst case scenario.
Wow.
The world's coming apart, okay? And all of a sudden, all your expense accounts are gone, and are people still going to eat steaks?
Yeah.
And I run a budget and a pro forma based on that.
Wow.
So best case scenario, worst case scenario. Because you know what happens 80% of the time? The worst case scenario.
Really?
Yes, that's just life.
Right.
And that's a tool that I've always used, because what happens is they give that to the bank or to whoever, and all of a sudden you start drinking your own Kool-Aid like that's easy to do. It's not easy to do. Being successful in business is not easy.
Yeah.
But that's why I talk about just simple tools in here. When HarperCollins came to me, they didn't say we want a life story. We see you on your show. We see you on these business talk shows. We read these articles. We want you to write about your tools, why you've never failed and you've made it through all these recessions. Whether you're a carpet person or you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Why did you get to go like this? It never really went like this.
Right.
So
I want to go back to your family for a second. Is there anything that you do with your kids, like a ritual or a gratitude practice or something over a dinner table, or is there anything you say to them at night? Maybe not anymore because they're more grown up, but when they were growing up, was there something you said to them every night or every morning, or was there a practice that you had as a father with your kids?
I never did. I've never been one to try to make my kids something that they aren't, and so you're going to go play baseball, or you're going to take piano lessons, or you're going to. We've always kind of let them do whatever they wanted to do, but at the same time, you know, I've taught them it's nice to be important. It's more important to be nice, and I've taught them even today. I just said, they've learned a lot too. Where I'm very observant, they've learned a lot by watching other families that have money. Right. And I've told them, you see what all these people do? They go, and the next generations become recluses and really don't want to be bothered because they don't want people asking them, and they've lost their power and their juice. Okay.
Right.
y'all can have this power and juice in this city, in this state, in this country for the next 100 years.
Wow.
Don't give it up.
Wow.
Don't become a recluse just because, you don't have to do something every day, and stay relevant.
Sure.
So many rich families, you go look at all your great wealthy families and look at the generations below them that just kind of live in a cave.
Live off the
money
that keeps
the
coming
trust
in.
or whatever, and they're not relevant anymore.
Why is it important to stay relevant?
I just think it's important to stay relevant. I think it's relevant to continue philanthropy and give back to your community. And there's nothing wrong with being a leader in your community. And just because I'm still on boards that I was on, 10, 15 years ago, and
Wow.
It's just, well, now that I'm worth a few $1 billion, I should change. Why should I change? My ego that, you shouldn't be on the Better Business Bureau board. That's no big deal. That's when you were up and coming, Or I've just never changed. I've just never changed.
You've evolved. You've grown, but you haven't changed.
100%. But I'll still be in this dining room, and if I see something I don't like, I don't have a problem with going over there and telling the busboy, hey, remember those people there? They deserve that table where their feet go just as clean as the table on top. I've never changed.
Wow.
I'm not going to embarrass them, but
Right.
I don't have any problem in talking to people and training people today.
How long have you been married for?
30 years.
30 years? That was a trick question. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Bob quiz. 30 years. Do you think you'd be where you are today in business without being married to your wife for 30 years?
I think a wife is very important and very supportive. You could easily be married to a wife that wanted to go out and spend money and you didn't put the money back in your business. And Paige always was very supportive of everything. I never once was not supportive.
Really?
Not one time.
Wow. Do you think you'd be where you're at today without that marriage, without that relationship?
I don't know. I just know she was always very supportive.
Supportive. That's great. That's great. Now, what is the thing that is missing in your life? Because it seems like you have everything. You've got the family, you've got the businesses, you've got your sports franchise now.
Honestly, nothing. Honestly, nothing. Honestly, nothing. I have to, I'm very fortunate, but I know that too, though. I mean, you always want more. You're always working on the next deal. But I cannot complain. I mean, but as we all know, there's a paddle for everybody's ass every day.
Yeah. And is there anything you're afraid of?
Fear nothing, but worry about everything.
Yeah.
Fear nothing, though.
I love this. I've got a few questions left for you, and this has been really inspiring. Is your show on still, or
not this year?
I loved it.
I know, but the problem is, and you should understand this with production and everything,
it
is
takes forever.
they want to shoot 12 shows because you bring the crews together. And the first year I shot 6 shows, and then we shot 12 shows. And then we shot 12 shows. And so they want to shoot 12 and I want to shoot 6.
Yeah.
I just can't give up 4 months. And then the 5th month going back and re-editing and green screen. So it truly takes
a lot of work.
It is truly full time, basically. 4 days a week for 5 months. And I love going to the basketball games, and all of a sudden I'm sitting here playing the Lakers or the Clippers at home this year, and I have to be on the other end of the United States, to shoot a show. So
I know the feeling.
I'll do 6, but I'm not doing 12.
Yeah, I hear you. It's a great show, though. If
It was
you want to
fun.
go watch
A lot of
and
fun.
binge it, it's a lot of fun. You do an amazing job of educating the viewer of how to run business
It is.
better.
It's simple. But that's the gift that God gave me. He didn't give me a lot of other talents, but He gave me knowing numbers.
I love it. I want you to, this is one of my final questions. I want you to imagine that it's your last day on Earth, far off in the future, okay? It could be 100 years, it could be 200, it could be whatever. But you get to choose the day that you get to die, right? You get to choose the day that you move on. And imagine that you've accomplished everything you want. Every dream you have now or later, you've accomplished it. You own the league, you own every league. Whatever it is you want to do, you own every restaurant, you've created it. You see your family grow and flourish, you see everything you want. But for whatever reason, you can't leave any of the messages you've put out into the world behind. You have to take all your messages and all your work with you. So there's nothing left for people to see that you've created in the world. Just hypothetical. But imagine you get to leave behind 3 lessons to the world. 3 things that are your truths, that you know to be true for you, that would be lessons that you would want to leave behind. And this is all people would have as access to your information, lessons that you would share with the world. What would you say are 3 truths that you have?
Always try to do the right thing. Always never give up. You know, don't find out what take out the never give up. Always do the right thing.
Yeah.
Find out what you're good at, and I don't care if you're an interviewer or the greatest chef or whatever. Find out what you truly enjoy doing and do it. It's not always about just making money, but take that God-given talent that He gave you, because I believe everybody has a talent that they're better at that than the majority of the other people. Okay, and then probably third, just remember you can always separate yourself from everybody else if you want to. I do believe that. At that field that you understand.
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
So,
well, I want to acknowledge you, Tilman, because ever since I found out about you, it was because of your TV show a couple of years ago. When I watched it, I was like, who is this guy? And I started learning more about you. I really acknowledge you for the genuineness you have in your heart towards the people around you. At least from what I've experienced, what I've seen, what I've seen, and everything. I'm sure you have your moments, but it's like you bring a sense of care. With all the empire that you have, you still care about people. And I think that shows on how successful you continue to become, is that you have an amazing heart and you care about human beings. And you care about listening. Because most leaders with empires don't want to listen, they want to talk. And you listen very well. So I really acknowledge, even before we started the interview, you asking me questions. And I really acknowledge that about your heart. So thank you for all that you do. Make sure you guys get this book, Shut Up and Listen. Really cool. I've been loving it. I haven't finished the last 20, 30 pages, so I'm excited to finish it and learn more about your story. But get this book right now, Shut Up and Listen. It's going to be helpful for your life, for your business. The final question is, what is your definition of greatness?
What is your definition of greatness? Everybody can't be the GOAT, the greatest of all time. And so everybody's got to find that greatness within themselves. And regardless if she's going to go home and tell herself, I'm the best camera person, or my regional over there who says, you know what, I'm going to be the best regional and have better numbers and have better restaurants than anybody else. Everybody's got to define their own greatness, because different people expect different greatness out of themselves.
Yeah.
And that's what makes us all special.
I love it. Tilman,
but
thank you so much.
It's what different people find happiness different ways too.
Sure.
So you got to find out what you're comfortable in this world.
Yeah.
So.
Oh man, thank you so much, sir.
Really
Appreciate
great.
you very much.
Appreciate you.